Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the worst hockey insert card designs of 1993. So hockey has always been it's the weird corner of the hobby. They've always done their own thing, it's a great thing. They have their own spirit. And the reason that they are that way is because they're a very regional sport that it has its own very strong fan base that doesn't work in the same way as the general sports of baseball, football, and basketball. And so once basketball finally took off and became a national point of conversation, there was a lot of investment into bringing basketball up with all the excitement and with all the money going on around Michael Jordan. There was a lot of investment in basketball, which was very similar to what was going on in football. And baseball, of course, was just churning along doing what baseball always did. But hockey was that one off on the side where card companies never really knew quite what to do with it. And so by 1992, they were still very much behind the eight ball. There wasn't a lot of innovation going on, which is too bad. But it does mean that when you look at the cards in hockey, they're very much hockey cards. They don't fit into the overall conversation, and you get some interesting quirks that come through with them. So on this list, I have 5 cards that to me are the worst card designs for hockey in this year, but I have 3 other cards I want to talk about. And at least one of those could very well be justified as being on the bottom 5 list. But I wanted to start out by talking about Ultra, as in Fleer Ultra's inserts. Not all of them, but when you do as many designs as Fleer and Ultra were doing at this time, some of them are not going to work too well. And that may be because they did a lot of things and the cards look kind of nice, but they don't work cohesively. Or maybe it's because the card is just they got overly excited when making it, got carried away. And there are 2 cases where that's very much the case. They are the Scoring Kings and the Speed Merchants. And with Speed Merchants, this card is a mess because it's got it's got the flag and it's got the motion, and the player blends in. The motion takes the player and blends them in with everything else, and then what it blends in with the flag, and it makes the whole thing run together so you can't really see anything. Even the Speed Merchant logo in gold foil there's nothing solid about it. And so it's very much it's 52 card pickup. It's just a big mess of stuff. But one thing you can say about it is it doesn't suffer from what the Scoring King suffers from, which is that stupid electric bolt. Why the electric lightning bolt thing at the end of the stick was put on there, I don't know. It looks like a cartoon on this card, and it's very distracting. This could be a perfectly fine, benign card, but because that's on there, I don't know that it succeeds in getting anybody excited about the card. It's an idea that was never massaged into the card. So it's very unfortunate. But I have to say, I don't think that those are bottom 5 material. Neither is Score Dream Team, although Score Dream Team is very, very, very close. And this is a card I just don't understand, because over in football and in baseball, Score's Dream Team cards were very simple, which was it's a portrait, maybe it's a photo portrait or a drawing portrait, or it's a portrait and a picture, action shot of the player, and that's it. That's all it is. The whole point of the card is to focus on the player. This card does literally anything but do that. Yes, there is a portrait on the front, but it's tough to find, stuffed down in the corner, and then the image in that card just kind of, it's overpowered by the design pieces around it. Dream Team is supposed to focus on a player. There is literally no focus here. There just absolutely is none. And that really bothers me about this card. So, I would love for this card to have been, well, okay, let's put it this way. When I look at this card, all I think is, Upper Deck subset. And if it was an Upper Deck subset, maybe okay, although I'd like to have more distinction between image and border. But that's not the case. It's not an Upper Deck subset. This is a standalone card from Score, and I think that it's not terrible as much as I think it's a big letdown. You can do so much. You can make it so much better. And when you shift over to Stadium Club with their USA hockey cards, well, they did do it better. This is actually a nice card. It's perfectly reasonable, nothing exciting about it, but at least it is clear. The player is clear, the design is clear, all the things that need to be that need to be focused on is clear. The logo is very distinct. All that's great. The problem I have with this is that for this, well, look, it's like what Donruss used to do, where Donruss would make some cards that were basically like cards in the set, but they'd put a BC number on for a bonus card and just say, hey, it's an insert. But it's just the same card from the set. And that's the problem I have here, which is, come on, dude, do something distinct, do something special. And this is a card that I find I have on this list, and I'm not too enamored with it because, again, it looks like regular cards in the set. If this was a subset card, I'd be all for it, but it's not. It's an insert set, and I just go, come on, design it different. How hard is it to do that? So when I get into the bottom 5, I started off with, well, it's with Score, but it's the Dynamic Duos cards. And the Dynamic Duo cards are, there's a reason that I have this on the list and Dream Team's not. Because with this card, it's a big blocky mess of things that don't work well in a cohesive way. But it's very different from what we saw with Dream Team. So in this case, the first thing I see is the blue box down at the bottom. Big blue box. And then I notice the gold foil running up the side. When I notice those, it pulls me in and I see the image. The problem is, once I see the image, I immediately get pulled down to the box. And the box and the text end up overpowering the image to where that's all I'm focused on. So the image isn't really that easy to see on this card, which is the ultimate failure because, look, the whole point of a card is to show off a player. That's literally the whole point. We refer to it as pieces of cardboard with pictures of men on it. This is a card that doesn't really seem to have that because all of the accoutrements are overpowering the card. It's a common problem that happens, but this is a very blocky version of that problem. So definitely not a high watermark for Score. But when we move over to Leaf with their Studio Signature cards, here we have a case where they actually did the same thing they'd done in baseball, but here it didn't work. And that's because Studio was designed around baseball. And for 1993, they used logos from the hats and from the jerseys of baseball players. But in hockey, the jerseys are different. And so instead of having a tight shot where you can actually see the fabric, because the tactility of the Studio cards is what made them work. Here there is none because the picture is much bigger, taking up more space on the jersey, and so any fabric on the jersey is lost. You don't see it. And that's if they even use the jersey, because it's quite possible this is just an image for the logo of the team. And in either case, it's overpowering. It's too much. It's too flat, and the player gets drowned out in it. So whether you think that the baseball set worked or not, that's irrelevant, because here in this case, this was not the right combination to go together. It just doesn't carry across. So I have this at number 4 because, again, whenever I look at this card, I just go, I feel like they didn't design it. I guess that's the best way to put it. But when I move over to number 3, now I move into the one card that makes me awkward when I put it here at the spot, because that is the Parkhurst reprint cards. And the reprint set is a wonderful idea that Pro Set came up with and Upper Deck continued. And the idea is Parkhurst had a lot of cards in the past, and so they're reprinting old cards so you can see what they looked like. Great. I love that. I am not one of those people who has done a lot of work with vintage cards. Other than the Chicago Bears and Denver Broncos cards, all of the vintage cards that I have, I've been getting for this project, and I love exploring them. But very few of us really get to experience those old cards, and so here Parkhurst just gave us examples of all of them in the set, and that I love. The problem I have is the quality of production of these cards is horrendous. And not being an expert on vintage hockey cards, I don't know if the original cards had this level of quality, or if it just has that copy of a copy of a copy quality to it, which is the way that it reads. But that's the thing for me. Whenever I look at this card, I go, cool idea, but horribly manufactured. And I truly don't understand. Look, it's a modern card, so can't you like clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit more precise in how it comes across? It looks out of focus. It looks dull. It looks like a third-rate company made it. That's the problem I have with this card. So as much as I love the idea and respect it, I'm not drawn to this card. Just really unfortunate. Now at number 2, we're going with Donruss with the clunkiest of all of these cards, which is their Team USA and Team Canada cards. And they are nothing more than a chrome finish on a card that has a map of the world back there, but basically it's a big sea of blue for the US team and a big sea of red for the Canadian team. And that's all it is. Even the player is buried in the chrome, and he doesn't stand out well. This is a card you've got to do a lot of work to see what's going on in the card. Whenever you do a full chrome finish over a card, you got to be careful to make sure that the design of the card actually comes through. And it's difficult for that to happen on chrome cards, especially because you don't have other elements on the card to work with it and to give some distinction to it. So to me, this card is just a big sea of red, or it's a big sea of blue, and I really don't care. That's the problem. It's too simplistic in the idea, and they never tried to work with it to make it better. But number 1 for me is the Gold Leaf All-Stars, or the Leaf Gold All-Stars, however you want to put it. And in the case of these cards, this is just too boxy and blocky, way too much. I look at this card and I go, oh yeah, okay, Dynamic Duos wasn't that bad, because the whole point of this card is that you have a big holofoil box at the bottom with the name in it, and then the whole rest of the card is dedicated to the player. But there's a clash between the two, because that whole holofoil box down at the bottom is very big and really wants to grab my attention. And then it's a jarring transition to a photo that I don't feel any attachment to anything when I go between the two. And so it feels completely isolated to the box below. I really don't like that. I wish that this card had done a better job of figuring out, all you need is some design element to go between the two. Just like a band of black or of red or who knows what. Something like that to go between the two, because the two of them juxtaposed where they're slapped together like that is just it's too jarring. So this card, to me, this is the one that I really can't get past. When I look at this card, it's just go, nah, you did not succeed with this card. That's for sure. So that's my ranking of the worst insert cards in 1993 for hockey. And it's there are other options I could have put onto this list. I don't think they really fit. These are the ones I wanted to talk about, but if you do have something else that you feel should be on this list, please do let me know. Include it in the comments below. And so if you haven't subscribed, I do urge you to do so, and check out my other videos, and thank you very much for watching.